GM everyone. So today we have a panel on consumer crypto. And before we start, let's start with the introduction from everyone.
So if you were here and you just like heard my talk like an hour back, I'm Saumya Saxena. I run Base India. And if you guys know Base, we are a layer 2 solution built on top of Ethereum. And here to support builders, here to be just like jamming about consumer crypto.
Hi everyone, I am Varinder. I am a head of product at FanTV, and FanTV is like a leading social app on Soi, right? So we have around 6 million users on chain, and the monthly active user we have on chain is around 1.5 million users.
Hey everyone, I'm Jenil. I'm the founder of Coinvise. We've been here for in ETH India and working in this space for the last 3.5 years. You can use Coinvise to create campaigns and launch tokens. And yeah, really excited to be here. Building in consumer is difficult, and I think this is probably the best time to build consumer apps. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Hey guys, I'm Prasanna. We build 0x People. 0x People is the best way to find out what your friends are doing on chain. We have a huge index. We locate all the wallets on chain. We put them all together. So we make it really simple to understand what's going on chain, and and perhaps like do it yourself. So good to be here.
So yeah, let's start. We'll start with the question, and then one we would love to hear your take. Yeah. So first question being like, how does a seamless onboarding plays a crucial role in consumer crypto, like how to get the initial traction and the user onboarding process? How does it affect the user login and user traction?
Can I start? So I think I've been like huge on consumer crypto for a while, and it's largely because you can port your social graph, right? And you don't realize how powerful that is till you use it. Where I'm a very early forecaster user, and I because of that, I think it allows now I can use like now Wildcard, for example, and Rodeo and Zora, and it's really powerful because you just need to do it once. So even what we're doing here with like base names is, so if you solve for like reputation, identity at the first layer, then you can take it wherever, and that piece is really, really powerful in crypto in general. So I think it's majorly solved from that POV, but it's just a matter of like distributing it right and making sure people understand how powerful that is.
Yeah, I think as I come from product background, right? So seamless onboarding is one of the major tasks. From a user experience perspective, if a user is taking 5 minutes to onboard any platform, generally the user will churn from the platform, right? So I think with the account abstraction coming into the picture, Sui ZK login coming into the picture, the problem of onboarding has been solved, right? So now you with Privy, with F3O, you just put your email, right? Sign in with Google. The wallet is created on the back end, right? So from a consumer's perspective, right? So they don't need to know which blockchain you are using, what stuff you are using, what is the tech stack behind it. They just need a seamless experience of onboarding. I think on some part it has been solved with Privy and Web3O, but there are many more changes which can be done to make it a single wallet of account abstraction, which can be used across any platform.
Yeah, I think just to add on to that, there's enough infrastructure tools available today to make onboarding really, really simple. And I think there's different approaches. There's also protocols and projects that run these quests or different on-chain experiences that bring users to different ecosystems. And then there's different onboarding experiences. If you look at Farcaster, you probably go through a long, maybe somewhat longer onboarding experience, but that does lead to a consumer user activation in the end. And there's maybe an opposite onboarding, which is you directly connect your wallet and you can just use the platform as just an anonymous user. I don't think there's right or wrong answers, but user activation is really important, and there's several different pathways to go there. And currently, I think there's a lot of available tools and resources to make onboarding really fun, really engaging. And you can probably decide based on your product which one fits best for you and use that, to acquire users.
So the great thing about blockchains is like we know a lot about you even before you showed up to the app, right? You have like a huge history behind you. And, to use 0x People, you connect your wallet, you connect your Twitter, and then, your whole world is in front of you, right? we crawl all the blockchains that you ever interacted with, all the assets that you ever owned, protocols you've ever owned, and then we also can crawl, the social apps that you used, right? So we can find you on Twitter, Farcaster, Lens, suddenly you're putting together this like on-chain footprint becomes extremely trivial because you don't need to give all this data one more time. You use an app and like it already knows you very intimately. So it is a true power of Web3, and you can build amazing, mind-blowing experiences as a result of that. In fact, I think now if you combine that with Web3 is the first industry where I've sort of seen negative customer acquisition costs, right? Like users show up, like they think if they show up early they'll get airdrops or whatever, and then suddenly you have to close doors. Like we run on wait lists of like tens of thousands of users because you want to make sure the people want to use the product and not the airdrop hunters who want to like get rich early, right? So we have like the inverse problem. We like Web3 has this problem that you have to like make it hard for people to onboard, because they're just showing up in droves. I've been building companies for 15 years. I've never seen a phenomenon like this.
Thanks for the answers. Yeah. So moving ahead, we know like with consumer crypto, like building in public has become upfront, and how you feel like being receptive to the community needs and their feedback, help us to retain the traction that you has got, and how much it's important for a app to adhere to its community and or take the required steps. Yeah.
Okay, I'll quick answer is that my last company I built in public, I spoke a lot about it. And it's so bad right after. It's just like there's so high expectations on where you are and what you want to do, and there's like people constantly following your journey and supporting you in that process. So amazing from that front, but you also sometimes like lose sight of what is truly important, which is like end consumer experiences, having like finding value. So I think there's a fine balance there. At base, for example, Jesse is massively public with how we build. I'm public with how we build it in India. But that's because that's a role here, right? Because we're building a larger builder-oriented product. But if you are an application sort of founder or builder, I would say just like lock in, man, and just like go at it instead of building in public.
Yeah, I think like for an application, as you mentioned, right? So like users will come with the feedback, right? We need this particular feature, we need this. Some user will come like I need this, but as a product team or as a founder, you need to think what is the actual need of the user, right? So taking feedback from the community is very important. You get to know how your product is doing, right? So apart from taking feedback, what we need to do is like, but I'm not able, but any project has done this, but you need to do a lot of data analysis in the how the user are doing their journey, right? So what activities they are doing on your platform, so you can take a plan, create a how the users are doing their journey, what action they are performing on the platform, and taking that feedback and the user feedback, mix them, create a feature which is actually required to them. That's how I think the feedback should be taken from community.
This reminds me, like, if you guys, a lot of people might know this. Recently, there was the Hyperliquid airdrop, and like, it seems that execution of any consumer-facing app is so important. There's very few teams that are like really inspiring, that have just like it's not always maybe like following footsteps of like building a particular community or anything. It's just really well executed product. And people use that product for how easy the UX is, for how how well they packaged it. And I think those things end up really mattering in fostering a good sense of community. If you look at anyone who like interacted with Hyperliquid as an example, they would not probably sell or even stop using it. And I think that is what good execution is like. And I feel like whenever you're building a consumer, building community is obviously mandatory, but executing it really, really well is probably where a lot of, maybe 100% of the focus should be. Because once you do solve that, that just shows that you have a good pulse on user problem. And having a good pulse on user problem is often where you can like, solve them and build a good product. So that's what I would say. Yeah.
So for us, we're a social network, right? We sell community. Like that's what we sell. So it's kind of like really important to handpick the culture of the community. At the same time, the contrarian insight on community building, in my opinion, is actually not to do a lot of bottom up. People come and say, hey, look, I want this, I want that. And if you keep doing that, like you don't build a community at all. You don't end up with a happy community, actually. What it instead takes is sort of having an opinionated view of the future, and you attract people who sort of like vibe with that. So community building surprisingly works much better top down, where you're a leader, than bottom up, trying to sort of gather information and being an order taker, you know? So I think a lot of people over index on user feedback. Whereas, what kind of matters is like you innovate for the user, you sort of live in the future, and you say, hey, this is how the world is going to look. And, if you're excited about this world, come with me. And, the craziest example is like Elon buying Twitter. Twitter had 10 years, like I think 5 years of flat growth. It didn't have any growth at all, right? And they, implemented all the features that users said it was a complex app. And, Elon comes in and says, the high order bit's right. The high order bit is like news is fake. Speech should not be censored. And like, that's what creates growth, you see?
Yeah. So like being a balance between the community feedback and your product aspiration, what you are looking for, the balance between that we should look, right? Yeah. So moving ahead, like do having a token incentive in place for user interaction help with the initial traction? And if there is initial traction which is coming from a token incentive which are in aligned for the community, how to make it sustainable? Like the people are just not for the tokens.
I mean, this we should ask you, right? So we don't have a token. The ticker is ETH for us. So which I think like the way it has worked for Base so well is we're the dominant L2 and largely max transactions you'll see on Base. And I think a core reason for that has been like singular focus on building something people want, creating tools for builders to build what they can build, and consumer applications and AI agents and all of that. And I think that matters, right? Because now we don't care as much about like balancing token price and care about our users and applications and builders that are building companies with token prices and giving them infrastructure that allows for that. So I think that's been the case for us.
Yeah, talking from FanTV's perspective, right? So we have a model called Watch to Earn and Create to Earn for creators and users, right? So basically, tokens or the point system can help you get a user base easily. You can get easy session duration, even retention, and all these metrics can be solved for initial level, right? So if you want to build a product where user will be staying on the like keeping apart the points program, then in our case we need to solve for the recommendation algorithm. But if we show a bad content to the user, anyway, if you are giving points, they will not stay on the platform, right? So building a good algorithms, building a good recommendations, bringing high quality content, that is what matters to the user in the long run, right? So token points can be helpful for your platform to kickstart the journey, but you need to work on your product as well to scale that and take the user on the platform for a longer time.
Yeah, I think token incentives do work after a product has solved a problem, and we've seen many examples of that. I think some of my favorite ones are like if you look at Optimism's ecosystem, a lot of developers, a lot of builders do get grants, and there are incentives to build on top of it. But that was obviously after they've built their vision, they've somewhat had a product market fit, and I think in those cases token incentives do help. It's not always a bad thing. It just has to be timed well. It has to make sense, and there needs to be a very clear direction. It can be very confusing if you have a token too early, and that might not be a great thing. But once you do, I think there's many good examples of token distributions and incentives that have clearly worked, and there's many different ways people leverage it as growth. But again, the thesis that attention is all you need, and attention is very, very scarce. When everything is so abundant, there's products that are commodities, you might use those. It's debatable whether that's useful or not as a strategy, but in some cases where the products clearly solve a problem, token incentives do work.
See, tokens are the superpower of crypto, right? We all get to run nation state experiments of like how to print money and how to allocate incentives, right? And any network, money is basically, I added value to you today, so tomorrow you owe me to add value in, that we sort of keep track of like who helped who, how much. So anyone who sort of extracts value from the network pays the tokens. Anyone who sort of like adds value to the network gains the tokens, right? So we get to sort of play reserve bank, and we sort of get to like run massive experiments. So, we're like creating little nation states, and it is a superpower of crypto. It is actually so important and so central to a project that, we are now seeing polarization of tokens. So it's either people launch it very early and like token is the product. You have the meme coin revolution, where token comes first, community comes first, then product comes later. Or you have like, the other extreme where people just like build really good products and just like inevitably sort of keep postponing the tokens like Base or Farcaster or 0x people, because it's such like a critical extinction event in the life of a company. If you don't get it right, like token is like more than half the product, right? So either you start in the beginning and kind of like, know whether it works or not and shut shop if it doesn't work, if you fuck up the token, or you sort of postpone it to the very, very, very end when the product really works.
Great. Yeah, so let's call it a wrap with the last question. Like, what are your goals for the 2025? What you are looking to ship for the community, and what you see coming up next in the consumer crypto?
Okay, lots of that. So, goals for 2025. One, my mandate is largely to bring India on chain. Point two is to like define what that means, right? And I think the way I want to define it is getting a lot of like founders and builders on chain instead of like we'll do a bunch of like corporate stuff and policy stuff, etc. But majorly focus on taking like 10 to 20 founders to 100 million sort of like market cap, right? And if we do that, it has downstream effects throughout.
Yeah, I think talking from FanTV's perspective, right? So our goal is to scale our user base of daily active user from 100K to 1 million. And then we are coming up with features specifically for creators. Like, so our platform's main goal is everyone is the creator, right? So everyone has some creativity in his mind, which is he's not able to extract because he has a less resources with him, right? So we are building few features with AI, text to music. We have generated FanTV anthem with that, and we are doing a verticalization over that LLM. And apart from that, the other feature which we are working and we are planning to launch in 2025 is text to video. So let's say I have some idea, I just want to create some video out of this, a high quality video, not like a normal video. So I just put every thesis of that, what the video should look like. So the AI model which we are working on will be able to build that particular video for the creator, right? So apart from that, we are planning for the TG in January or February.
Cool. So our focus has always been, and our bet has been that there's not nearly enough markets. And as much as we like to talk about it, there's meme coins, there's different kinds of markets, information markets. I just think there's going to be a lot more kind of markets, and it's going to get even crazier. I also think that one of our, products that we're launching next year is earnkit.com, which is something we haven't talked about yet, but we're really interested to see what AI capabilities can do and how it can improve workflows on chain. And I think generally, crypto is moving towards a direction where UX is getting much, much easier. We're going to have a lot more ways to interact on chain, a lot more markets to participate in. And that's going to be my focus in building next year. We're obviously on Base and many other, ecosystems, but that's going to be our primary focus. And I'm really excited. Yeah.
Guys, 2025, next year is going to be crazy. It's, I've been in this space long enough, bought my first BTC in 2012, 2013. And, this is going to be the mother of all bull runs. I think people in this room are in general believers, but you don't believe enough. It's going to be crazy. Speculation is going to like run at like levels we've not seen before. Countries are like hoarding Bitcoins in their treasury. Brazil passed a bill to like front run US and buy like bunch of treasuries. Trump is promising, 100 billion of Bitcoin purchases. Like it is going to get crazy. It's like, the mother of all bull runs that you've never seen before. Like 100 times the Harshit Mehta era, that's what we're seeing, over the next few years. And, the crazy thing is users are onboarding directly on chain this time. Like few years ago, nobody believed. I mean, even I believed like people would come through exchanges. Everyone will come through exchanges and a tiny portion will onboard. But now Phantom has sort of overtook Coinbase as the top app. I am a big Coinbase bull. I own like an insane portion of Coinbase. But, like Phantom has overtook Coinbase, right? So people are coming in droves on chain, and now is the time for us. The vision is, as people come in, on-chain experience is like really hard. There are so many chains. Their assets are going to get fragmented across these chains, across different apps. And how do you sort of operate it in a seamless way in one place? Out of a single app is what our focus is.
Great. Thanks all of you for coming up. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, folks.